This tutorial is for 4th grade Module 1, Lesson 16. In this lesson, we're going to use estimation and tape diagrams to help us solve word problems. The directions say estimate first and then solve each problem. Model the problem with a tape diagram. And the first question says, on Monday, a farm sold 196 pounds of potatoes. On Tuesday, they sold 823 pounds. On Wednesday, they sold some more potatoes. In all, they sold 1,409 pounds of potatoes in the 3 days. About how many pounds of potatoes did the farm sell on Wednesday? We're going to estimate by rounding each value to the nearest hundred, and then we'll compute. So to start with, I'm going to look at the 3 values that I know. I know on Monday they sold 196 pounds of potatoes, and we're going to round that to the nearest hundred. Well, I have a 1 in my hundreds place right now, so my lower answer choice would be 100. My higher choice then would be 200. The midpoint is 150. 196 falls after the midpoint, so that number will round to 200. On Tuesday, they sold 823 pounds. I have an 8 in my hundreds place, so 800 would be my lower answer choice. 900 would be the higher choice. 850 is the midpoint. 823 falls below the midpoint, so that number rounds to 800. And if I look at the total, 1,409, I have a 4 in my hundreds place, but I also have 1,000. That means I have 14 hundreds as my lower answer choice, or 1,400, and 15 hundreds as my higher answer choice, or 1,500. The midpoint would be 1,450. The number 1,409 falls below the midpoint, so we'll round that number to 1,400. Now that I have my 3 rounded numbers, we'll draw a tape diagram. So I'm going to make one tape showing all the potatoes sold. I'll label it potatoes sold. And I'll show that we have a total of about 1,400 pounds of potatoes. Now I know how many they sold on Monday. They sold about 200. So I'll put Monday and I'll label that 200 pounds. On Tuesday, they sold around 800, which is going to be a bigger tape since that's a greater amount. So we'll put 800 pounds on Tuesday. On Wednesday, they sold some potatoes, but we don't know how many. So that's where our question mark goes. In order to find my answer, I have a whole and I have 2 parts. So I need to subtract those 2 parts from the whole. I'm going to combine those 2 parts first. 200 pounds plus 800 pounds would be 1,000 pounds. 1,400 minus 1,000 gives me 400. So on Wednesday, they sold about 400 pounds. That's our estimated answer. We're going to use that estimated answer when we solve for the exact answer. Now when we find our exact answer, we know it should be somewhere around 400 pounds. So I'm going to draw the same tape diagram as I did in my estimated answer. And I'll label it. And I'll break it into 3 parts again. So we have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now for the total, we know that the exact total was 1,409 pounds. And we know on Monday they sold 196 pounds. And on Tuesday they sold 823 pounds. And again, we don't know how many potatoes they sold on Wednesday. So I'm going to combine Monday and Tuesday, and I will subtract that amount from the total of 1,409 pounds. So if I add those 2 days together, 196 plus 823, 6 and 3 is 9, 9 tenths and 2 tenths is 11 tenths. 100 plus 800 plus another 100 would be 10 groups of 100 or 1,000. So on Monday and Tuesday, they sold 1,019 pounds of potatoes. So let's take that amount and subtract it from the total. I have a total of 1,409. I'm going to subtract 1,019. Well, 9 minus 9 is 0. I need to subtract one group of 10. I don't have any right now, so I'm going to decompose by taking one of my hundreds, which leaves 3 hundreds. I'm going to decompose that into 10 groups of 10. Now 10 groups of 10 minus one group of 10 leaves 9 groups of 10. 300 minus 0 hundred leaves 300. 1,000 minus 1,000 is 0, so we'll leave that blank. That tells me that on Wednesday they sold 390 pounds of potatoes, which is pretty close to our estimated answer of 400 pounds. Let's look at another question. This one says a gas station had 2 pumps. Pump A dispensed 1,752 gallons. Pump B dispensed 916 more gallons than Pump A. About how many gallons did both pumps dispense? Estimate by rounding each value to the nearest thousand. So I'm going to look at my values here. I have 1,752 gallons. So my answer choices would be 1,000 or 2,000. The halfway point is 1,500. Since 1,752 falls after the midpoint, that amount will round to 2,000. Pump B dispensed 916 more gallons than Pump A. Well, here I'm under 1,000. So if I'm rounding to the nearest thousand, my answer choices would be 0 and 1,000. The halfway point, or the midpoint, is 500. Since 916 comes after the midpoint, that amount will round to 1,000. Now let's set up our tape diagram. We have 2 pumps. We have pump A. I'll label that. And it pumped about 2,000 gallons. And we have pump B. Now we don't know how many gallons pump B pumped, but we do know that it pumped the same amount as A and then about 1,000 gallons more. So the piece that sticks off past what pump A pumped is worth 1,000 gallons. If they pumped the same amount, that would have been 2,000 gallons. So 2 things we need to find out. How many gallons pump B pumped, and about how many gallons did both pumps dispense altogether. Well, we can go back to pump B if we know that the 2,000 part and the 1,000 part make up pump B. Together that would be 3,000. So if I add pump A to pump B, I get a total of 5,000 gallons. Now that's my estimated total. Let's work on the exact total now, and I'm going to write my answer statement for that. We'll say together pumps A and B dispensed blank gallons. I'm going to do the same tape diagrams, only I'm going to use their exact totals this time. So we have pump A, and that was 1,752 gallons. Pump B pumped the same amount and then 916 gallons more than pump A. So again, we know the part that sticks off is 916 gallons because that's how much more it pumped compared to pump A. If they had pumped the same amount, That would have been 1,752 gallons. And we need to find the total for pump B. And once we find that, we'll find the total for both pumps altogether. So let's add these two parts for pump B. I have 1,752 plus 916. I'll add 2 and 6 is 8, 5 tens and 1 10 is 6 tens, 7 hundreds and 9 hundreds is 16 hundreds, 1,000 plus 1,000 is 2,000. That means that pump B dispensed 2,668 gallons. Now let's find the total for both of them. We'll take that amount from pump B, 2,668, and we'll add it to pump A, which was 1,752. 8 ones plus 2 ones is 10 ones. 6 tens plus 5 tens is 11 tens, plus 1 more is 12 tens. 600 plus 700 is 1,300, plus 1 more is 1,400. 2,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,000 is 4,000. That means that altogether, pumps A and B dispensed 4,420 gallons. And if you remember, our estimated amount was 5,000 gallons, so that's pretty close.